All right, let's talk infotainments, specifically the all-new 14-inch infotainment screen that Lexus has introduced, firstly in the 2022 Lexus NX, but we've also seen an iteration of this in the 2022 Toyota Tundra. So let's first go through and talk about what they've done here with this 14-inch screen. What are they offering here? What are some of the features, the pros and the cons, and we'll talk about kind of where this industry of ours is headed. This is a 14-inch screen, as I already mentioned, and this is going to be a game changer for Lexus. It's going to be a high definition screen, and many other journalists have already tested the screen, both in the NX as well as in the Tundra that I already mentioned. And the main thing that people keep mentioning is just how quickly this screen responds. It reacts just like our smartphone, and that's exactly what Lexus tried to replicate here. So it's got that snappy, quick response that you need. It's going to offer wireless features, the ultimate connectivity, and it's just going to be overall more convenient. At least that's what they're saying. But you can already tell by the pictures and by the past experiences of journalists that there's really not going to be any physical buttons. But I'll talk more about that later. So this screen is going to be one of the largest available in the mainstream cars. Like if you were to talk about the Tundra, right? The Ram 1500 made its little debut with that 12-inch screen, and now the F-150 also has a 12-inch screen, and now we have the 14 inches offered in the Tundra. So this is genuinely a massive screen, and they've done some great things here. Like they've reduced the glare. That's something that they focused in on, and I really appreciate that. Quick to respond, as I already said, and the menu system is very similar to kind of what Audi does. All the menus are on the left side of the screen, and I really like that. It's a pretty nice organized way of handling the menus. And again, you really only have two dials for your climate control, and you have your own dedicated buttons for the window defrosters as well as a volume knob, but otherwise your fan speed controls and your recirculation of the air button, that's all going to be incorporated inside of the screen, as well as your heated and cooled seats, your heated steering wheel. Now the good thing is though, most vehicles today that offer a automatic climate control system, it's actually pretty good. So once you just set the temperature, everything else kind of turns on automatically as it needs to. When you set the temperature to 72 degrees, the heated seats or the heated steering wheel, whatever needs to come on, it'll kind of automatically turn on when it needs to, according to the temperature you set in the automatic mode. So I do like that. That's something that I can kind of get around, but I would like them to include the recirculation of the air button as a dedicated button at the bottom. You're going to be able to save your favorite music with a favorites button on the side. The vehicle is also going to offer connected services. So with that, you're going to have the available Drive Connect cloud navigation. So it's going to offer you Google point of interest search capability, and this infotainment system is also going to be Wi-Fi capable, so it's going to allow for over-the-air updates. A new kind of voice assistant program is going to be introduced similar to Hey Mercedes. Lexus is now offering Hey Lexus. And this is going to offer that kind of natural language conversation, and that's going to allow for easier access to your audio settings or your climate control. You can just say, Hey Lexus, turn up the bass, or please set the temperature to like 75 degrees, things like that. So you can kind of communicate with the car a little bit easier. This new system is also going to offer wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and that's going to be standard for vehicles that include this screen. The Bluetooth has been updated. You can pair up to 5 phones and 2 at the same time. And the Bluetooth connection now operates a little bit quicker, so you're able to kind of connect and disconnect a little bit quicker. Now, if you're a Lexus owner, you probably have that little Lexus app, and with that, you can kind of do a couple things like start the vehicle. But now with the new Lexus Mobile App, you're able to kind of customize the settings a little bit more. You can now start the vehicle, and you can also set the exact settings that you want, like the exact temperature or whatever other features you want to turn on. It's a little bit more customizable. And you can even save those settings, and if you have another Lexus vehicle, you can also transfer those settings to another Lexus car that's kind of saved in your app, if that makes sense. So those are kind of your main upgrades and updates with this new Lexus infotainment system. Now again, the 2022 Lexus NX is going to be the first vehicle, the first Lexus product to feature this infotainment. Other vehicle models are to come, and of course the Toyota Tundra has also been unveiled and has this 14-inch screen as an option. So what does this mean? Why are we talking about it? Well, it's because these larger screens and this kind of uncluttered, simplistic, minimalistic approach. That's what these car manufacturers are kind of going for nowadays. And me personally, I'm not really a huge fan of the touchscreen trend. And it's not really a trend. I mean, it's here to stay. This is going to be the future. In fact, in the future, you're probably going to have driverless cars with the whole windshield. That's going to be a complete screen. That's what you're going to be seeing moving forward. But this is kind of the first step and the first taste in that. You know, obviously we have things like the metaverse. Technology is going to leapfrog itself within the next decade or so. And this is just going to get even more nuts. So if you don't like this, well, it's only going to get worse from here. But I mean, I've been in and out of so many cars, just hundreds of vehicles at this point. I've tried just about every single infotainment system that's out there. And me personally, one of my most favorite infotainments that I've ever interacted with was actually the Lexus Touchpad. That's what I like the most, if I'm going to be honest with you. I've said that multiple times on this channel. I find that to be the most intuitive, the easiest to use and to get around. With a touchscreen, I always find myself reaching over, being distracted, taking my eyes off the road so I can concentrate and to make sure I hit the exact same button, because usually most cars, they don't ride like a Rolls Royce or like a Mercedes S-Class. So when you kind of go over like a jittery road or like over a bump, then I kind of notice myself going over a bump and then missing whatever menu or item I was trying to click on. You see what I'm saying? That's what I hate about touchscreens in a vehicle. When you have a dedicated touchpad or like the BMW iDrive knob, then you actually have something where you can just rest your palm and then navigate using that. And then it's going to kind of behave like a mouse, and it'll kind of vaguely point itself at certain menus. And I just find that to be much easier. You don't have to be as precise as you do with a actual touch screen. So with that little mouse pad, you can actually be a little bit imprecise, and it'll kind of aim at whatever you need to, right? If you're used to those systems. If we're going to talk about touchscreens, one of my more favorite systems I've used lately is the Audi system. Their dual screen approach wasn't too bad. Again, I already mentioned the menu structure in this new Lexus Infotainment is pretty similar to that Audi layout where all the menus are on the left side. I mean, it wasn't perfect. I didn't like the fact that there was really no physical controls left in that vehicle. But for an all touchscreen system, it wasn't bad, and the haptic feedback was nice. People always talk about the Uconnect system and the Stellantis products. Honestly, it's okay. There's a lot of menus involved with that, so that can be a little confusing. You have to get used to it, but as a whole, that's not a bad one either. But honestly, I really liked the Lexus Touchpad system. It was one of my most favorite ones, but again, that's just my opinion. The majority of humans hated the touchpad, and they've been dreaming of Lexus and Toyota to put this touchscreen in their vehicles, and they finally done that. And I think many of you are very happy with it. In fact, a lot of you are going to be ordering the new NX, and I think you should. I think the new NX is going to drive great. It looks pretty good, and this infotainment is going to be something that most people favor. And fine, go ahead, put your little touchscreen in there. However, I need some form of physical buttons, okay, for the climate control, the heated seats and all that stuff. I genuinely do want to see physical buttons for that. In fact, I'm going to use a pretty ridiculous comparison here with Rolls-Royce. Yes, the luxury car manufacturer. In one of their press releases for the Rolls-Royce Ghost, the new one that came out or whatever, they were talking about how they pride themselves in using knobs, buttons, and switches in their vehicles. In fact, that's what's natural to humans. That's what they're saying here. A touchscreen does not come naturally to us, but it's easy for us to press a button, get that tactile feedback, play with the knobs, play with the switches. Like, that comes naturally to us humans. That's what Rolls-Royce was saying. So that's why they still continue to implement those things. But again, that's literally for the 1% of the population. This, in the majority, and the stuff that we buy, these manufacturers, they keep shoving these touchscreens and like this whole minimalistic approach. Very distracting, but that's what people want, and the manufacturers are very glad that people want this stuff, because that means the mainstream companies like Toyota, Stellantis, Honda, whatever, they don't have to produce as many buttons and switches for their cars anymore, so they get to save some money there, and they can just put this big tablet up. It's actually an inconvenience that we, the masses, we, the kind of mainstream buyers, have accepted, and the manufacturers are probably so thrilled about that. Really, in my opinion, screens shouldn't even exist in a vehicle at all. But we are going towards this driverless tech society, and in the future, we're probably just going to have pods and we can just sit in the vehicle, scroll through our Instagram or our metaverse or whatever else we have going on, and we don't have to be worried about what's going on in the road. So we can actually have time to play with touchscreens, buttons, holograms, and whatever else in the future. But today, when we're actually operating a motor vehicle, when we have our hands on the steering wheel, looking forward, and actually having to pay attention, the screen is honestly nothing but a distraction, in my opinion. I have never felt comfortable handling a touchscreen in a vehicle, but leave your thoughts below, because I think most of you would actually disagree with me in this instance, and that's totally fine. But just let me know, what is it about a touchscreen that you find to be so easy to interact with? And I think most of you are Lexus people on my channel. You own a Lexus or a Toyota product. What is it about the touchpad system that you either like or dislike? Let me know your thoughts, but thanks again. That's my look at the new infotainment system. Take care and goodbye.